Yeah, so I laugh, I have a step. It's a joke every year. So welcome everyone, it's so great to see you all here and thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Today I'm not going to give you the traditional presentation about our integrity systems and the operations that have been happening throughout the year, mainly because it was touched on certainly at the RMAC forum by our peak industry councils this morning, but we've also been running over 60 workshops across the country about all of that with over 5,500 producers with our stakeholders as well. So we'll continue to be doing that well into the new year. Today is all about the big picture for our integrity systems programs and really focusing on why they are so incredibly important to our industry, with a focus on how we're moving towards better utilisation of the data that we have to ultimately strengthen our integrity systems and also try to take some of the pain out of managing compliance. So just firstly, the Integrity Systems Company. So we are a wholly owned subsidiary of Meat and Livestock Australia. The company, which was formerly NLIS Limited, commenced in early 2017 as a result of the Safe Meat Initiatives Review, which recommended that all the integrity systems program be managed under one company. So we now manage NLIS, we also manage the National Vendor Declarations, and since March this year we've also managing the Livestock Production Assurance Program, which we took carriage of from AusMeat. Our role is now to streamline and strengthen our integrity systems programs to ensure Australia's strong reputation for the best red meat in the world is retained, through making sure that they're underpinned by the best integrity systems in the world as well. In terms of our governance structures, we certainly operate with our own board and are provided advice and direction by various industries committees made up of our peak industry councils as well as Safe Meat partners, the federal and state governments as well. But what's this big fizz about data? Everyone's talking about it, you know, it's a major theme this morning. So data is its own economy now. It's everything we do in life, it is likely that data is being collected by someone as a result. So when you're doing your shopping and you have your frequent shopper card, it's all about tracking your purchases and understanding your preferences so that they can target their marketing. There is a volume of data that is generated every day around the world in quantities that we just cannot quantify at all. So for our industry perspective, harnessing data, putting data to good use and making it accessible to our industry to be able to ramp up our efficiency and performance is going to be a fundamental component to our survival. Data is being generated and provided up and down the supply chain as we speak through systems such as Livestock Data Link and also MyMSA. And even more data is going to be coming with the implementation of our DEXA systems and also objective measurement overall. So from a private good perspective, for our individual producers, data can be viewed as a key profit driver if we start to use it effectively. And from an industry good perspective, data is power in understanding the performance of our supply chain, using it to verify our product claims, understand our consumer trends in terms of their needs and wants. And let's just move now to have a little bit more about that particular focus. So MLA has been collecting consumer market insights for a very long time, as demonstrated by Lisa's fantastic presentation. But to start our journey, the first constellation of data that we're going to have a look at is how consumer insight data helps to inform the direction of our integrity systems program. Over the duration of what remains for this presentation is the aim to try and help join the dots associated with the data that we have, what we currently do with it now, and what we could be doing it within the future. So keep an eye out for each of these little constellations as we go along, as the picture builds. So to start, and building on some of the great information that Lisa presented already, we know from the data collected about our consumers around the world that they absolutely care about where their meat's coming from. So we need to be clearly differentiated and maintain our considerable reputation for being safe to eat and ethically and sustainably produced. This is what our integrity systems provide to our customers. Interestingly, it's Korea, the Middle East and Japan that are very focused on and aware of where their country of origin of their food is. Now with regard to this particular data, it's taken from around 8,000 consumers from around the world in 12 countries. It's a massive, massive body of work from MLA that informs a multitude of our marketing activities. It's robust, it's juicy, and it tells us incredible insights into and we are particularly fortunate to be able to have access to it. Now, just building on that even further, The consumer data also tells us that they are very clear on the attributes on which that are important for their protein choice. So as you can see, food safety, quality and sustainability are important characteristics for consumers in these 4 countries. It is our integrity systems that offer this promise and the key to our consumers and their buying choice. Importantly, these attributes are also considered by consumers overseas to be held within our own beef products. So the ability to demonstrate that our beef is guaranteed to be safe, is environmentally sustainable and ethically produced is what our integrity systems of LPA, NLAS and MVDs provide. What we don't do is have great big brands of these integrity systems programs plastered all over our products overseas. And that's because these requirements come into play at the trade negotiation tables. They are stipulated as requirements, and by and large, the 3 components of this constellation is what I'll focus on now. So importantly, I guess it's really about our export market. Australia enjoys enviable access to our international markets, and I guess most of Australia's markets require or are moving towards requiring suppliers to have robust mandatory livestock traceability systems. The industry integrity programs assist Australia in meeting these requirements to help underpin market access for all these red meat export places. Now, the data presented here is all about the major markets around the world which we enjoy because of our integrity systems. Ultimately, what the integrity systems provide is the ability for government to underpin certification to a number of our major export destinations. So without these integrity systems in place, we wouldn't have these markets, which last year was exported around 963 kilotons of ship weight, which was a value of over $7 billion. So to put a bit more substance around those 3 key areas then, of traceability, guaranteeing our product safety and wholesomeness product, and ensuring that there is an ability to transfer food safety information throughout the supply chain. Traceability is the thing that most importing countries are requiring to make sure that there's traceability from the farm gate, from where the animal was last managed, right through to post-mortem inspection. In some cases, they're also expecting the full animal's lifetime information. So our NLAS system, where we work alongside with our jurisdictions, is what enables us to really deliver on this requirement. In terms of the second area, so there are requirements for animals to be sourced from holdings that can guarantee the wholesomeness of the derived product, a requirement consistent with the Australian government standards. The export processing sector are compliant with this requirement if they source animals from properties with an on-farm food safety program, and LPA is the way that this is achieved. The third and final area is about transferring information through the supply chain, and essentially through the use of our NVD system, this requirement for food safety information is met. Now, we are fortunate as a country to have a national system, so one system that our industry has put in place that supports this exceptional access for Australian red meat export markets. And we need to ensure that we're continually enhancing and ensuring that we're retaining our reputation that we enjoy around the world. So all our integrity systems are underpinned by data from 4 key areas at the moment, which is NLAS, the LPA program, EDEX and also MVDs. So it's this data that provides the evidence and verifies our claims against the safe and ethically produced product that we sell. So just to focus on the NLAS and the LPA databases. Currently the NLAS database contains information around 185 million tags, and this includes 75 million active devices and 110 million inactive devices, which are essentially animals that have been processed or exported. In total, since the program started in 1999, there are 325 animal movements that have been recorded on that database, with around 30 to 50 million new movements recorded every year. Within the LPA database, we have around 220,000 records or accredited property identification codes. On average, this grows by about 8,000 new records every year. And every year we also conduct 2,000 random audits with our producers to test compliance on farm. These databases also include a huge amount of other information which is incredibly valuable to industry, such as the types of livestock that are moving, health and disease status, movements, and also carcass and feedback information through MSA. So what's actually contained there is a huge body of information that is incredibly valuable to industry. But I guess what we need to do is really understand these strengths, which what it certainly delivers is it does underpin those market requirements. The sheer quantity and quality of the data that we have verifies the system that we have. It is still rated as the best traceability system in the world, but obviously our competitors are catching up. And importantly, it's very much whole of industry owned and supported, which is also an incredibly important component to it all. And it does provide our point of difference, which is a point that Don made this morning. The opportunities, though, that these data sets hold for industry is really unknown at the moment, but we do know that there's huge potential. So looking at ways that we can link and extend the purpose of the data that we've got, make sure that it's more accessible and used and shared across our supply chain. Look at different ways that we can automate data uploading systems and different analytics that happens in the background. Utilise that data to really make sure that we tell our story in a lot more detail to what we're doing now. And also use it to help inform industry decisions and also analyse our industry performance. But when all the stars align and the dots are joined, essentially they form the role of the integrity systems company and what it's all about for industry. And that is getting back to streamlining and making sure we're strengthening our integrity systems. To do that, we capitalise on these opportunities at hand, and we can look at where we can use data systems, technology, and analytics to more effectively underpin our integrity systems and try to see how we can take the pain out of compliance. At the moment, the system is strong, but it's hugely reliant on a lot of paperwork, a lot of record keeping, things like farm mats and biosecurity plans, which is all time consuming and adds a lot to the never-ending list of things that producers need to be doing. So the Integrity Systems Company is very aware of this, as is the broader industry. And while we need to maintain the current system and continue to strengthen it, we also need to get smarter in how we're using this industry data to find better ways with industry of taking out the manual, heavy labour nature of it. So, one of the opportunities that we talked about just before was about looking at how we might link other data sources, because none of it's really linked at the moment. They're all still very focused on their original purpose of why they were developed. So what might it look like if we could link all the data movement, the movement data that we have, all the production data that we might have, genetics, carcass feedback, etc. What might that be able to do for industry? So examples of this that we have access to, the R&D, some of the R&D that we conduct, and that there's considerable animal production data that's there, growth rates, pasture growth rates, even looking at smart ear tag devices, GPS tracking. All of those have data points that we're starting to collect now. Other systems that we have is the Livestock Data Link program, which contains carcass data, animal health data, with around 104 million records that we currently have in the system. And the data that Meat Standards Australia contains is quite extraordinary. So it's eating quality data with 47 million records and growing rapidly. So what might the future state look like if we develop a platform that enables all this data to be linked, to be compatible so that it can talk to each other and generate clever automated analytics for the benefit of industry? This could deliver an unknown amount of benefits, but in the first take, and the obvious ones, are potentially the accelerated supply chain performance because we have more data and sophisticated analytics to identify where we need to improve. Greater transparency because we have more data to verify our claims. Faster real-time market intelligence. So instead of waiting a week for feedback or market information, you might get it on a daily basis. And giving greater detail in the story that we tell our consumers overseas about the product that we're producing. And one day, possibly, hopefully in the not too distant future, but maybe it's a little bit unrealistic, but possibly a system that doesn't require any human requirement to do any paperwork for our traceability systems, because we have extremely sophisticated technology on farm with sensors and GPS tracking and all of that that does the measurements and sends the data automatically into a database. But as with most things, there's a lot of work to be done. And in the first instance, we really need to define what that value proposition is for industry to actually go down this line in the first place. So I guess there's also an issue, and trust has been a major theme right throughout the day, is how do we actually look to generate greater trust across the supply chain around how we collectively manage data and look to how we really drive that data-driven culture. If industry does move towards a far greater focus on data, we need to work with industry to really define those data standards and what the access and sharing standards might be. So it can't be just an open slather where everyone accesses everything. There's going to need to be rules and agreed across the supply chain. But we also have considerable work to be done in terms of R&D. And the first and foremost obvious thing is dealing with that great issue of connectivity. And Sean Starling is definitely on that mission, and he's head on into trying to find solutions quickly for industry. And with that, we need to understand the type of data platform that we need to set up with a functionality that meets the needs of what industry requires, including data sets that would talk to each other and also enable robust analysis. So to finish up, I guess it is incredibly exciting what the possibilities are with data for our industry, even beyond our integrity systems. So data does underpin our reputation and trust that we have built for our industry and the verification of our claims that our product is safe and ethically produced. Our integrity systems do remain critical to underpin our $23 billion industry through giving us that market access and meeting the needs of our customers. However, we do need to ensure that we continue strengthening these programs while at the same time finding ways to take the pain out of compliance for our producers. There are significant opportunities to start and explore and to capitalise on the data systems and technology we have available. However, ultimately, what we'll need to do is work with industry to get there. Thank you.